All right, me and EO, we wanted to have a discussion because this is a topic that's been going on about every patch or so, or every time a new character drops. And I think it's a good time because Seed actually fits the overall course of discussion, which is general character value as well as Seed's value as a whole. And I think EO kind of talked about this already on one of his videos, and I think he brought it back up today in your stream. But if you guys haven't seen, there is a update to the new Prydwen tier list that always gets everybody in a ruffle. And one of the major changes, or a few of the major changes people are really upset with or indifferent about, is T1 Seed and T1 Trigger. And I kind of want to talk about it because I think there's this weird perception that a character being T1 is bad, and that's just far from the truth. And I kind of wanted to get into that because I think one of the big issues that the community currently faces that not only do the players do, but I will say as creators we do as well. We have like very hyperbolic statements about characters where we over exaggerate, and then it kind of gets mixed into translation for people that don't completely understand where a character's value truly sits, and it makes them either sound worse or better than what they actually are. And I think that happens on both ends at times. And I think one of the main characters for that is Trigger. I think Trigger is one of the characters that a lot of people are fans of the character and love her, and they really believe in her. They overhype her and put her really up here. And then I believe at some instances, especially when around time she first released, a lot of creators kind of undersold her a little too much, in my opinion, and made it feel like that she was worse than what she actually is. So now people are like kind of lost, where I think like her true value just sits like in the middle of those two statements. And I think a similar thing could happen to Seed is right now. And because of that, I think that kind of like gets people in the thoughts of whenever a character sits in a certain spot where another character is being, I guess you could say shit on or undervalued, it makes everybody else in that same tier feel the same way. And I think Seed is getting that same issue because of Sambi. Our recent conversation over the past few weeks with Sambi and how our brother Flosser did his video talking about her, the excellent trilogy that he did. And so because of that, Seed debuting in that position makes people feel like that, oh, well, if we've been talking so bad about Sambi for so long, and that the devs confirmed that she's getting above, well, how does this look for Seed to be ranked this low? And she's supposed to be our new premium unit that's supposed to, help where the class is at right now. So I guess what are your thoughts based off what I said so far? With Trigger, I guess we can go from like Trigger into Seed and to Sambi. Yeah, that's fine. With the Trigger, I feel like I don't even know if we undersold her, to be completely honest. I just think it was one of those things where like a lot of the value behind Trigger was with her W engine. And I think it's one of those things where we kind of talk about it with Prydwen and how they do it a little bit, where the calcs and their websites say that they only assess a character based off of like P0, which is without the W engine, and then at M0, which is no mindscapes. But I feel like we as players, especially when you really look into the game and you see the calcs and the representation, it's almost impossible to have the same critique of a character, knowing how drastic that W engine is and knowing how much of a standard that is for a lot of the characters. When we look at somebody like Lighter's base kit for Fire and Ice is really good, even without the W engine. So a lot of the times it's fine. You look at a character like Jafufu, her base kit, even without the W engine, it's fine. Then you start comparing that to Trigger, and Trigger with her base kit, it's like pretty standard, because now it's like, okay, you have an off-field stunner that does the stun damage multiplier all the time, but it's only 35%, versus a character like Qing Yi, when I stun you, and I stun you in 4 to 6 seconds tops, that stun multiplier is jumping up to 210%, So it's like you pick one or the other, right? It's like, oh, well, you only get that damage during the stun window. Okay, well, it takes me 4 seconds versus Trigger's 35 seconds to get to the stun window. One is significantly more effective at doing their job than the other. This is where, for instance, like a creator like myself, that's where I was comparing Trigger to back then. Eventually, we got to more of a, how good is she on Anomaly teams? What does she do? Blah, blah, blah. Which DPS character does she work with? Whatever. And now it's to a point where most Trigger players have her engine. It's very rare that a Trigger player doesn't have her engine. And actually, it was funny. We had somebody in chat earlier. They said they were gonna pull Trigger, but they skipped and waited to get her W engine. And now
just on her rerun, they pulled her and the W engine because they saved for it, but they didn't get her before because it was like there's no point. Yeah, because it's like, I mean, you can do it, right? You can use trigger, but then it's like, what value do I gain out of getting this character? And like the W engine is so important to what she's providing. Like, yeah, she provides off-field attack or off-field stunning, but for a lot of players that understand like how to play their teams or, you know, bounce back and forth between the characters, they don't really need as much off-field stunning. I feel like trigger's value is almost leaning towards the 100%. I don't feel like thinking about a number. Trigger's value for a lot of players is the fact that she's off-field. You don't have to play her pretty much at all. You know, just like Astra, she's off field. You really don't have to play the character. And it allows you to sit on your favorite DPS or your main DPS and just only focus on them. So a lot of the effectiveness of that is that you just don't have to engage. You don't have to play it at all. But that only goes so far, especially if we're looking at tier lists and it compares to that. I think with that in mind, you follow in with Seed. And Seed's whole thing is like, okay, cool, middle of the road. But Seed is also being put in a situation where she doesn't have a W engine that she really likes or favors more than her own. So very similar to the situation that Trigger has. But Seed's kit without her W engine is phenomenal, but only for other attack agents. And I actually got a comment this morning, which I told this person, like, this is a horrible idea. This person said that they should have made Seed work with all attack types. So Anomaly, Rupture, and attack agents. And they should have given her off-field attacks or off-field damage. And I said, so you basically want Astra V2, but with like a fuck ton of damage. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like it's a horrible idea. You know what I mean? But it goes on to show you like this is what players value. They value that I want all the buffs. I want as much damage as possible, but I don't want to engage with the character's mechanics, especially if I don't like it. Seed is in that position now where a lot of people or a lot of players are in the middle. They don't know how to play the character or they don't want to learn how to play the character. But this character is, I don't even think she's mechanically advanced. Like she's not a hard character to learn, but she's different. And she requires you to play in a way where if you like, let's say you played Seed and you played Sam at the same time, you can't sit on Seed for 45 seconds until a burst or a stun window and then burst into your Sandby. Yeah, because like not only are you not providing resources for Sandby, but you're also not taking advantage of the Vanguard and what's the other one called? Direct Strike or something like that. You're not taking advantage of you're not taking advantage of both of those. Or the Besiege, You just don't get the bust from it because you're not using the energy from the other, you're not attacking with the other, you're not using the skills from the other. Same thing flips in reverse. You can't just sit on Sandby all day and then whenever the burst window comes around, like you swap in a Seed, because then she doesn't have her resources, she doesn't have the energy needed for what she wants to do, and she may or may not have her still charge depending on how you play the team. And then of course you have the middle unit, which a lot of players are using Astra. I just talked about this. We just watched a showcase earlier. I really do think that team is dog water. And I'm only using that for like...
Which team? Oh, the one with Astra?
The one with Astra. I'm only saying it for the hyperbole. It's bottom, right? If I had to compare all of the possible seed teams, like at the top 3 or top 5, the one with Astra, I'm going to put at the bottom. I think Nicole over Astra is better. I think Trigger over Astra is better. And depending on the DPS, I think Jafufu over Astra is better. I think not being able to stun for well into a minute of your gameplay is horrible for those two particular characters. Like using Seed and using Sandby, or using Evelyn and using Seed. Like certain characters can get away with it. Like Anton, I guess. I don't know. But then you have like Nekomata. She gets a 35% boost from stunned enemies. You know.
Yeah. I think some burst shoots. I think Jué is fine with it with Astra on the team. I think, and again, Anton because of the whole drill gimmick, and then what's her name? Neko, if you're just using her for the energy gimmick. Let's see. I was kind of go just because we're a little far with it. Just to kind of go back to a little bit of Trigger. I think what you said was the thing that I think people should have always stated about it was that her without her signature is standard. Because there has been plenty of times that I went into one of our streams as homies, or even some people just generally seeing people have conversation about the character. I do agree that her signature is a very valuable part of her kit and what makes her good. But we have like a lot of statements that like bring up where it's like we make it seem like that she's like insignificant without it.
If that's the thing that I'm pushing off, I definitely don't want to push that off. Like,
I'm not saying specifically you. I'm just saying that's to me that's the narrative that's been pushed around all three of those characters. Not just for like Spodera engines and specifically, but the conversation around those characters when it comes to how they've been performing. A lot of times we end up only comparing them upwards. So we compare them in line with the people that's in 0.5 T0. But we don't never acknowledge their position of where they sit in the middle and how does that reflect to the units below them. And because of that, since like for the likes of before Seed, Trigger, and Sambi, since we view them in a weaker position in comparison to like a Evelyn, a Hugo, or like at the time when Lycan was still up there at T1, or Lighter, people when they hear those statements, people end up thinking that the characters they aren't worth getting because they don't perform as well. And I think that's where the whole stipulation idea comes from, that people think that T1 units and below aren't worth going for because whenever we generally talk about them, they get brought up in a negative light that makes it seem like that they're not worth going for because they aren't performing as well as everybody above. And again, that's not just a you thing. I've done it before. I go into Kete streets when he's frustrated or we're going through something. He says it plenty of times. We had Nick's just in chat just a second ago saying it. But when we talk about like within the bubble of ourselves, or like when we're comparing it to the units above them, using statements like that, because we know as players what we actually mean when we say that. Like we say that Sambi's ass. Well, that's in the essence of like comparing her to like a Alice or to a Evelyn. Like the difference between power between an Alice and Sambi is pretty significant. But it doesn't mean that Sambi isn't good, because Sambi and I mentioned with Seed all the time, like they're like 40K bots when it comes to like the contents that they cover. They don't struggle, like when it comes to DA, they don't really struggle at getting like 40K scores or like high 30Ks. And for like the average player, that's really good. They don't really need much more than that, especially with the current stance of the game. And because of that, I've been like lately for like a lot of content, that's why I try to value units. For me, if they're hitting 30, 40K without too much struggle and without having to be highly invest into the unit's build, and I can't really turn my skill off, but if I'm able to still get it and make mistakes within the run and still be able to obtain those scores, to me that's a solid character. And characters that go above and beyond that line, of course, they're way well in a better position than the other units. But to be honest, a lot of those characters in that category, a lot of us agree that they're pretty busted units. Alice. I remember when first getting Alice and turn her on, I was like, I didn't check none of the builds on the creator servers or nothing. I just booted it up 45K to 50K easy first run. I was like, oh, it ain't no issue. And then when people was wondering if her and Jane was going to work together, first time 40K, it didn't matter. And so when we have units like that, of course, it's a big discrepancy and difference between power between the other ones, but it doesn't make the other units bad to any degree. But it shows that there is a big power difference, and I think because of that, it does show that there's a different, I guess, pool value between those characters when those things happen. But I also think that even with that being said, even though those characters, I guess people will want characters to be within that similar bracket. I talked to you, and we both kind of agreed at the time, I don't know if you still do, that having a lot of characters at that not even Miyabi level, but at like that Alice level, that Yijuan, and even in some essences that Evelyn level, that's having too many characters like that doesn't completely bode well for a healthy state of the game, especially we're at the point we at now, because we have so many characters that there's only especially if you like go on the Prydwen tier list and you're anybody and you filter the list and show like truly how many units are only within that 0.5 to T0 echelon. That it's only but so many units within that list, and a large majority of the roster is below that. So if we elevate all of those if we elevate and aim for all of the newer units to be in that 0.5 and above, we run into a similar same issue as Star Rail, where every time a new unit comes, all of them older ones are just going to constantly get shifted down and downwards, and it doesn't bode for a healthy state of the game.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's a couple things we could probably address. Nick's brought up a point, but before I talk about that, I think it's like silly in a way, but this is coming from Star Rail. Like I have the experience with Star Rail from the ground up, like from freaking CBT3 and all the way to this year, basically a Morpheus. I have the entire experience of watching and experiencing that game go from amazing to great to like, okay, maybe we should be worried, to like, all right, this is kind of bullshit, to like, yeah, bro, you tough titties, man, spend some money. Because it got worse and worse and worse. Every character, I was just explaining this on stream too, every single character that came out had to one up the next character or the previous character in some way, shape, or form. And when you start doing that, it's no longer about like, does the kit work better than the previous character? It's about damage. It's about like, how do you get access to your damage? Do you do it faster or slower than the previous character? Is it easier to attain? How many teammates do you need to acquire that damage? You know, and then now it's at a point where like in Morpheus in particular, everyone runs the same team. It's all Tribby, Sunday, and you know, whatever other Hyacinth, right? Like they all share the same type of team, because the only thing that matters at that point is DPS. Like I think they just got Hysolins, which is DOT, and so now DOT is, you know, back to being a part of the meta. That's been around since 1.4 or something like that of Starro, and it's already like what are they in, like 3 point something now, or 2 point something, whatever it is. Yeah, so it's like it's been a long time since DOT has even been relevant. Super Break is no longer relevant. Like it's, you got to work for it, you need Eidolons. And that was one of the things that we mentioned about like Mindscapes. But before we get into that, Nix, you kind of said like tier 1 has clunky kits, or like they're incomplete, but I don't really think that's the case at all. I think it's more like tier 0.5 and above. So anything in the Apex category, it's not about them having complete kits. It's that their kits are just busted. Like I wouldn't say Jué Qū Líng is incomplete. For the character that she is, she does exactly what she wants to do. Aramasa, I think he does exactly what he wants to do. Bernice, he does what she wants to do. Stanby, incomplete. I could agree with that. Ellen was incomplete. Seed, I still think, and we're going to talk about that later, but like Seed is the second most balanced character that we've gotten in a long time, especially from the attack side, because the only other character that's balanced behind that, or balanced more than her, is Evelyn. But Seed does exactly what she's supposed to do. There's nothing incomplete about Seed, in my opinion. Because like, I guess like, what would you call it incomplete? Like, oh, she needs the attack agent. That's not really incomplete. That's just by character design. But if we made it so that every character was similar to Miyabi or Yi Xuan, or even Evelyn for that matter, where like these characters just perform on their own, they kind of don't give a fuck who else is on the team, then yeah, everyone is in tier 0.5. Now we're looking at Starro's tier list. Because that's exactly how Starro operates. Like it doesn't matter who you put on the team, I'm gonna get my maximum damage no matter what. And depending on like which support you put, or if you double support or even triple support, I may or may not get more or less than the last DPS.
Yeah.
Have I not read her kit? We're talking about Seed still?
Seed?
What do you mean
I think
that she locks herself out of her kit?
Do you mean that her kit is restricting? I don't think that's necessarily incomplete. That's just a restriction, which I think the restriction makes sense. That doesn't necessarily, I completely agree with the restriction that they placed on it, but it makes sense for why they did it. How does that make sense? Because if we're offering a character that has Astra level buffs, and you've stated this before, that attack and this might not be exactly what you said, but in order for attackers or any other class to come up with Anomaly, they have to have dedicated supports or units that are specifically designed for them. And that is what Seed is. She is a unit that is specifically designed for that class in order to help elevate them. To me, that's not an incomplete kit. Seed kit is clunky. Be more specific with what your words. What do you mean by clunky?
That's what I was gonna like chime in on too. Like I still don't know what some of the players mean like when you say it's clunky. Because if we're like earlier, I think Sharingan Hokage mentioned something about like how it's just that Astra makes Seed comfortable to play with any attack agent. Without her, you need to play Seed differently depending on the partner. But I think that's a positive towards Seed, because for the longest time, and this might just be a me thing, where I constantly talk about the fact that trying to make every agent play the exact same or play similar, where you don't have to think, is bad for the longevity of the game. It's not good, especially in an action-based game where your decisions matter, the character doing whatever matters, blah, blah, blah. I told you guys this before Astra even came out, that Astra was going to infantilize, I think I said that word correctly, but she's going to infantilize the game, which just means she babyfies it. And that's exactly what it's become. Most players can't do anything without Astra. That's why the very first thing they do whenever they get a new character or DPS is they replace whatever it is on the team with Astra. And then that's it. That's all they do. It's not about the massive attack bonus anymore, because we have characters that are giving that same attack bonus and more now. It's literally, I'm comfortable playing Astra because Astra does this thing that makes it super easy for me to do. And so they put it on there. And it's not like a shot to anyone that plays Asher or anything like that. This isn't like Asher sucks. That's not what that is. It's literally just calling a spade a spade. You can only do that once, and if you fuck up, you can't do it again. Every character with a gauge has a full immediate access to use that gauge at any point. Wait, what?
Yeah, I don't get what you're saying there.
Read the basic. Slaughter. After the 4th hit of basic attack, dodge, counter, quick assist, or assist follow-up, hold or press punch to activate, summon the mech to perform a charged punch attack, dealing massive electric damage. Steel charge reaches 120, or when steel charge reaches 120, gain 1 chance to quickly activate falling petals slaughter by holding punch. This effect expires when steel charge is less than 120 or after using the method above to activate falling petals slaughter. Not accumulate steel charge on hit. Characters invulnerable while using the skill. Is this the one you're talking about? The jet punch slaughter?
Yeah, I think
we keep going, which means you can't do it again. Why would you need to do that again? Why would you fuck it up is the real question. Like, I kind of get what you're saying. I don't know. I kind of just like don't agree with it, because you got 4 different ways. Was it 1, 2, 3, 4? You have 4 different ways to activate this. Why? At what point would you fuck it up? Slaughter is just a punch, not the full crash out. Okay, so you're talking about downfall. So downfall, you just need the meter for it, but you can't really fuck this up because as soon as you activate it, you're gonna auto do it.
No, I think he means slaughter. He's talking about slaughter.
So yeah, you're talking about slaughter. Yeah, the jet punch.
Yeah. So but you could trigger slaughter through so many different ways. You could trigger it through dodge counters, hold EX special, basic attack. After her ult.
You don't even gotta hold it. You literally just press the button. Like, I guess like fucking it up would be like you press the button and then you decide to dash cancel it or something like that. I don't know. But even then, I don't know if she can dodge cancel that. I've never actually tried it nor accidentally done it. So if that's a thing, then maybe. But I don't think that would attest to her kit being clunky, because then it just comes down to like, what are you doing in between that to make her not follow up? If you activate slaughter that way, then go into a switch pair, you can't activate downfall. Okay, you brought that up. That's a great pivot point that I wanted to mention. I don't think we should be doing that all the time. I understand like that's her big damage, right? I get it. I completely get that the downfall is her big damage, but this is a limited resource. Like it's limited based off the amount of steel charge you have and like accumulating it. And then a lot of the times when you just throw a random, like you just throwing downfall out there, he can miss because the enemy gets out of the way. There could be situations where you just miss because you mistimed it. Or if like, for instance, Typhon jumps up, I feel like being able to control when you do it and when you don't do it is more important than it just automatically coming out. Like if downfall automatically came out, I think it would be worse. But
yeah,
again,
I don't think it should automatically come out. I think if anything, the only change they should have made about that move is it shouldn't be a tap and or hold. It should be just a hold so that you don't misinput it.
Yeah, and just like Sharingan's saying, like you're fully invulnerable during both of these. You can't get hit, so there's never a point like where you should be afraid of it.
Nobody is. Now that isn't true.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's definitely not true.
Some people have asked for that in recent discussions.
But I feel like maybe given the time, and we talked about this early on stream, I don't think players have fully adjusted to Seed yet. We already knew this. We don't really try to keep up with it, but we knew this with the first beta. Even during her like Aftershock days, we knew players in the beta had no idea what the fuck they were doing with this character. Like nobody was scoring past 45k. We get the character on live, everyone's fucking crushing 40k. DE server, admittedly, we got it a week late. Like we got Seed late. We did not have the same amount of time to put into this character to learn her the way that we had with other characters. Now, I can admit that. I don't know if other creators are admitting that or not. It is what it is. But we did not have the same amount of time for this character. It's almost impossible for us. I want to say impossible. Put it this way. If we as creators who have access to the CE server are able to do like our guides or whatever, and we'll say we have 2 weeks, it's like a week and a half or whatever. Let's say that we have 2 weeks of full on testing, whatever it is with the character comes out and there's still stuff that we missed because other people figure it out. There's no way we would have figured everything out about this character in a week. And we didn't even really get a week. We got like 5 days. So I just feel like we haven't even explored this character.
So so Nix, you're saying that as soon as you get enough meter, no matter where you're at, if you should just be able to rocket punch at any point if you have the meter available. You shouldn't have to go through a basic chain, a dodge counter, or holding EX. If you have the meter, you should be able to just go into it. I can understand that.
I don't know if I'd call that incomplete kit though.
I don't know if I would say that's incomplete though.
Like I definitely get what you mean now that you've explained it that way, but I wouldn't call that incomplete. Yeah, you can't. I don't know if I would use that word specifically. If you can't activate it, then you can't fuck it up. The meter just sits there. It's still there. But what you want downfall on command, or rather you want slaughter into downfall.
No, he wants slaughter on command. He wants slaughter. He wants the rocket punch
you can go
on
into
command.
so then you can go into downfall basically. Yeah, like that might be like poor design, but I wouldn't call that incomplete. I wouldn't call that clunky either. Like that's not a clunky thing. That's just that's something that you want. Like I want Sambi to do certain shit. Okay, I guess I can't use Sambi. Sambi is actually clunky, but whatever. I want Sambi to do specific things and the game says no, even though I feel like it would make her significantly better as a player or as a character to play.
I could understand like why you would want that though. They have a precedence with a lot of characters that there are shortcuts to get to their desired requirements without really having to necessarily interact with the enemy. There's just a lot of things that like for instance, a lot of characters are able to skip parts of their basic attacks to help them build parts of their resource faster. Then we have like certain like anomaly characters in general that are able, like Miyabi and Alice. They're just whenever their resources are ready, they're just able to do whole basic and let it loose. Same with Evelyn. So I understand the instance, and I mean if they would have that change, I wouldn't have any issues with it. But I guess for me personally, I don't deem that as clunky necessarily. I just think that's just different in comparison to what they did before with a lot of units. They just didn't follow the same exact pattern that they did with previous units before. And if it could that be hurting her? Sure, but I don't think that's necessarily hurting her and how she works. Maybe from a gameplay feel for some people.
I mean, you can get 2 jet punches out of her. I don't think it's 2 slaughters. But we saw it earlier. I don't know if it's an accident, but it looked intentional. It's somewhere around here. I'll play it on the stream here for you guys. But she does like 2 jet punches and then she goes into the downfall. So that's why I'm saying, like, I think there's something that we just haven't really given her the time to discover yet about why you would use these moves and when. Because I know for a fact none of the creators did it because we barely had time. But any other player, that's a little different. I can't speak for everybody else that's playing the character right now, but I know none of the creators had time to do that.
That's very clunky. I sat there and watched people be completely confused as to why she couldn't use her meter resource. So I guess to me, that's for me clunky. It's like using that as an example of like of being clunky. It's like, so do you think Haramasa is clunky? Because like people, so for instance, people were confused on how like his quiver system works and why they weren't able to expend it when he first came out. Do you deem him as a clunky unit? I know it's not exactly the same, by the way.
Haramasa does feel clunky. Clunky or difficult to play.
No, because you can expend his resources the moment you get it. See, that word choice for me is very confusing at times because a lot of people express characters feeling clunky. You don't think he's clunky, but we have 2 other people in chat that feels like he is. And that's not just like them to solo them out. But that's a statement made by a lot of people that like a lot of characters, the word clunky is thrown around, but everybody means it very differently than what it actually is. No, I get what you're saying, Nix. I understand what Slaughter does.
I just feel like Slaughter would be quivers, wouldn't it? Like if we were to equate the 2, yeah, because quivers, you have 3 or 4 different ways to put quivers on the field. Once he gets the quivers, he goes into the dash attacks, and then Seed has 3 or 4 ways. I guess we counted it 4. Just 4 ways to get access, like immediate access to Slaughter. And then that just lets you go into downfall. You can use the resource. Now, I mean, I get it. She has the gauge, so she can't really do it as often as, Haru can do his dashes. Quivers have a way to load themselves up on their own. But yeah, so does she. Like, he goes through his entire basic attack string in order to get his quivers, or he uses the EX skill, and then that can go from that way. She uses her EX skill, and you immediately go into jet punch into downfall. Like, both of them have the same setup.
I don't know how to necessarily say that, but
it's not the exact same, but like same premise. They both do a similar thing to get, or I would say one of them doesn't do more things than the other to get access to their resources to use it. And Nix, maybe I just have to see what you're referring to, like she can get her setup completely broken. I think I really do have to see what you're talking about because I don't know from where. Like I've never interacted with that, but maybe you have.
Yeah, I'll for that, at least for that statement specifically, we'll have to probably see what you and just exactly see what you mean. But regardless, your statement about every unit above T1 not feeling clunky, or that's like why people complain about, that's not exactly the case. That's a you thing, or like the people that you speak with. But when it comes to like statements that people leave within the community, like comments and stuff, a lot of the value that people bring for units for guard T1 isn't always about them being clunky. It's about their general performance. Like even with Jay Stern's video, his discussion, a good chunk of the discussion he had within this video was talking about the performance of Seed and how she's reflecting right now with the buffs that she has. He didn't really home in on like her clunkiness necessarily, because even in that case, we still have people valuing like Hugo at T 0.5, and people have expressed him being like a weirdly clunky type character that people don't not necessarily like how he plays. I don't think clunkiness is the only reason why people devalue units within the T1 bracket. I think it's more about their performance in comparison to the units above them rather than how they feel, I guess.
Yeah, and then I mean, like Zena pointed it out, what I was talking about too, or getting into. I just feel like players aren't expanding. Like and again, you're trying to fit a square into a circle, or a circle into a square hole, but whatever that's saying it. You know what I'm saying? I think people are doing that with Seed. Even if I remove Astra from the entire thing, like we had this issue in Star L, we had this issue in Zenless plenty of times. Players don't, until you show it to them, until someone shows them like this is the superior way to play this character or whatever it is, this team, players universally or generally don't change the way they play or approach learning a character or a team. I don't think people are doing that with Seed. Like, it's very clear she doesn't play the same way. Even with the hyper carry thing, everyone's calling Seed a main DPS. So I won't say everyone, but a lot of people are calling Seed a main DPS, which to them, main DPS normally equals hyper carry. And Seed straight up says like, no, like I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a hyper carry.
Yeah,
she's not a main DPS. Like she alternates. The way that I try and describe it is like more like a hybrid DPS. Like she can perform the roles of both a sub and a main DPS, but you can't leave her on the field by herself. Like, that's not what she's there for. And you can't leave her off the field. And like if you're playing like Sambi, for instance, or Evelyn, you can't just leave her off the field and she does nothing. Like you only come out whenever you want to rocket punch, or whenever you want to do the downfall in the burst window or the stun window. It's a little different, but that's why I'm like, I feel like it's one of those things where like players haven't spent enough time with the character to figure out like everything about it.
But
no,
Nick,
you got it.
You just said that Haru doesn't feel clunky, but yet he's under that position. I would argue that most people don't think Zhu doesn't feel clunky, but she's under that rating. Hugo is above that rating for most people, and people think he feels clunky. That's why I don't think clunky is the desired phrase that people devalue those characters in that tier. That could be an aspect, or that could be an argument used for it, sure. But I don't agree with that's like the reason why. I don't think the reason why people dislike those characters because of how their kit flows. Because I think a good chunk of them within T1 flow pretty fine outside of maybe Seed and Sambi for most people. But like for instance for Jane, I've never heard people say that Jane feels clunky. I've heard people say Jane just doesn't deal a lot of damage.
I've heard Piper players say Jane feels clunky, but that's because they play Piper.
I haven't met a Hugo player that's like, oh yeah, of course, Hugo players aren't going to dislike their gameplay. Just like Seed players aren't going to really dislike their gameplay. Haru players aren't going to really dislike his gameplay. Jane players complain about Claw Chaw or whatever the fuck it's called. I don't know what that is. What was that? EX basic?
That word is
I don't know the name of that move.
Style Chow Chop or Sao Cho.
Oh, the hold basic?
Yeah, the whole thingy where she spins in place.
Okay. I've never heard that, but I can understand. I don't really like her whole basic.
Yeah, it's because she's such an active character as far as like her dashes and moving around. And then she has that one move where she just like spins in place. Yeah. And so you have to figure out when do you use it, where you can use it, how you use it, why you use it. There's a little bit. And then like staying in her passion state. There's a little bit when it comes to like Jane. I don't know if I'd call that clunky. I would say that again, that goes into like design. And I think Nick's just, I didn't read the full thing. I started scratching, but Nick's mentioned something like, why would you give a mobile character like a stationary move like that? It's kind of like giving Chip and Guilty Gear a move where he has to sit there and charge.
I can understand that.
That said though, I don't think that applies to Seed.
Yeah, I think Seed's general kit flow matches the pace of the unit that she is.
Mm-hmm.
I could like the accessibility of instantly getting rocket punch. Sure, it doesn't follow the dynamic that most characters in the game do. So you could not like that aspect because we've gotten drawn or accustomed to having that. But for me, I I don't necessarily deem as that as a clunky aspect because she just doesn't do the same thing that everybody else does. It's not, well, of course, everything is in a, I don't know if in a bubble is a word. Of course, it's just, you're just pulling examples. That could be other aspects. But Nix, I also think you have to understand that a lot of sentiments that you have, a lot of people don't bring them up. Like that, the whole thing of not being able to repeatedly go into slaughter whenever you want. I think that's the first time I've heard that statement about Seed. People don't know it, so of course. So that's what I'm saying, like as a general argument or like discussion about the whole thing for like why people feel the way they do about characters. I don't think that's because that's not everybody's thing, or that's not everybody's reason.
Everyone thought it was a bug. Yeah, but I mean that goes back to what I was saying before. The beta testers didn't know what the fuck they were doing, and the CE players or CE server players, the creators, didn't have enough time to figure anything out, or rather, I'll say didn't have enough time to give Seed the proper time. One of the things that I talked about, Zena, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we were in call. It was in my Discord call. We're talking about this, and I mentioned that because somebody asked me like why I didn't make a Seed guide. Like, why didn't I put one out with everybody else like that same weekend that we got CE server? And I said, because it's physically impossible for me to have enough time to not only test the character, but then test the character with every single attack option in the game. Like, and that's a very important thing, by the way, is like Seed works off of other attack agents. We've already established that depending on the attack agent, you play her differently or she operates differently. You can't just put out, this is how Seed works. And then there's 9 other agents in the game that physically change how she plays per whatever. Then the enemy also takes into account for that, or the deadly assault boss, whatever, right? Like, there are a lot of different factors that go into Seed, which is why I keep saying we just haven't had the time. Like, no one's given her the actual amount of time necessary to test this character. Everyone just expects her to, like, out of the gate, boom, she's just doing this, and we're just not getting that. I don't think we're gonna get that. To be honest, I don't think we're getting that for a while. I think when Yadhari gets here, she's gonna be simple to understand, but then people are gonna start finding like cracked, crazy setups because they just didn't understand the kit from the beta test and the CE server. I think the same thing is gonna happen with Orphe, but Orphe is of course easier. She's off field, but then it's like, okay, is this a character like Bernice where she just only sits off field? No, we know that from reading Orphe's kit, or rather how they showed off in the live stream. But I mean, we have it CE server. But like reading Orphe's kit, we know she's not just supposed to sit off field. Like, she's a little bit more active, similar to how Seed is. They alternate. I just think we're getting characters that might be a little bit more in depth, and we have to give it that time.
Far too many restrictions. I test this character for a good chunk for the day, my day off, and it feels like shit, genuinely. Far too many restrictions. She has followed the game built around expression and coarse simplicity. She fights herself too much. And that I just don't disagree. I just don't agree with. I think the character's pretty straightforward. I think that she works pretty well the way that she does. I just think that she just offers a gameplay style that you just don't like, and that's fine. I don't think that every character needs to follow the exact flow of the game that they've been having for a T. I think it's fine for them to switch up and try something new. If it doesn't hit the mark for some people, that's cool. You move on to the next one. I think this is the same thing. I think this is the same example of like why a character like Haru probably won't exist again. Because people didn't like the design that they came up with, because it didn't feel good to them, and it's not going to always feel great to people. That just is what it is. That doesn't mean and that's not me disregarding any issues that the character potentially has, or any discrepancies that people like about the character. Joshua's a guy who likes seeing it, and he also agrees that the punch is clunky and the stone winners are badly optimized because she doesn't have a golden Orphe unit.
Glad, but like adding into that, even adding into that, right? That comes from like, because I've seen the J Stern video that you might be referring to. I haven't seen any streams to like hear him talk about it a little more. But the J Stern video where he mentions like sees a problem or she has a problem, he also heavily stresses his belief that she's a main DPS. And that when anyone is on the team, any attacker, any support, any stunner, she is taking up 95% of field time, which we all know based off watching people play her and potentially playing her ourselves, that's just not true. This character does not want to suck up 95% of the field time. Now, and that's kind of like why I keep saying, like, I think when Orphe gets here, people are magically going to have like, oh yeah, Seed's perfect. She's great. Like she works. I don't even think Orphe is going to benefit Seed the same way that people think it is. I think Orphe is going to have a way stronger benefit for Sambi than Seed. I think Seed is going to stay tier 1. Sambi's probably going to jump up to tier 0.5. But Orphe isn't fixing Seed. You want an Orphe for Seed, but it's not Orphe. it used to be, and then they took away her Aftershock, and now it's like you're only getting half the buff. The way Seed is, it feels like, again, balanced unit. She has a lot of room to grow. They're gonna have to make what they're looking for as far as like a support or an attack agent, whatever it is. Not so much a support, an attack agent.
This I could see what you're saying. Which hold up. Somebody said about him being a hater. We also just want to be clear. We know Nyx. If maybe somebody in the chat's calling him a hater, and we know that he don't care. But we know Nyx. I don't think Nyx is a hater or anything. Nyx just has his stances, and we as niggas, we just not gonna always agree with each other. But I see what you're saying about like her not working with like units that want Harmone and stuff. And I think that the issue with that is that there's no way they're going to be able to design her to work with every form of attack agent within the game currently right now. Which is why it was one of the things that I even mentioned in my video is that she's fine for the current attackers within the game. She's a clear sight that to me that they want to take the attackers in a different direction, and she's just the first piece to that. The only difference here is that she came much later into the game in comparison to like when Anomaly came out, because we all know Grace and Jane for a hot minute didn't fit into any other Anomaly teams as more Anomaly characters started releasing, but they were very early on into the game, so people didn't mind it that much. And so as more Anomaly characters came out, people didn't acknowledge it that well. But since Seed is here now, we've had so many attackers since her. It doesn't feel amazing. It feels good enough. But honestly, the only way that, in my opinion, it was going to make that dynamic work for both Seed and all the other attackers in the game, they have to adjust the other attack units as well in order for that dynamic to truly work. Which is why Orphe is going to be the first example of it. Of it being an improved performance. But like I've stated, when Kete and them had that discussion this previous weekend, I don't know if they saw it in chat, I was like, I think Orphe is just the first step into what future other attackers going to be coming to work with Seed. Mm-hmm. But as we all know, she's more in line to be designed to benefit Sambi more than Seed.
Yeah. To chime in on what you're saying, I think even with that direction, because I was talking about it in chat, I'm thinking about it a little bit. I think two things are going to happen, or they're trying to do two things. One, I think Aftershock is becoming its own, like how we have Rupture, how we have attack comps, how we have Anomaly. I think they're trying to make Aftershock its own thing. Two, I think because of that, for attack comps specifically, players who want their attack comps to get stronger should be pulling Seed, and you can vertically invest in that and do whatever else you want. I think for Aftershock, you pull Orphe because it's very clear, like, yeah, these things can work together, but the design, from a design standpoint, they're designed to do completely different things or completely different types of support. And we're gonna see that more and more. We won't see it immediately because we're going into the Rupture for 2.3, I think. But who knows, right? Like right after that, we might start getting stunners and more attack things, Aftershocks, whatever.
Yeah, I agree. What you said, that's the red flag. Her kit is close to being ready to working with all the attackers. It's not done because there's too many mechanical oversights. That's the issue. It's like 90% finished. It feels unpolished. Okay, I hear what you're saying. I think that's a fair assessment. I think that's definitely a fair assessment. But I also think that, like we mentioned before, there was at least for like creators wise, there was no way for us to be able to properly assess that, or like any of her like deep issues rooted with her, because again, we just didn't have time. Like me, we had to release Friday, or the first day to release was Friday. I didn't get the fucking beta to that Wednesday. I had like 2 days to play her. I
encourage everybody to have these conversations and talk. And like Nyx is really damn good at the game. So it's not like we're not invalidating what he's talking about, because what he's saying is more than likely important to when we need to talk about it regarding Seed and like what issues she might have. Just like both Soul and I, we had no idea about the rocket punch thing that he was referring to. And so we get that now. But it's fine. We can always disagree.
I knew that she couldn't just straight up do it, but I didn't know that was the thing that people were calling a bug. I remember Kete brought that up to us, like that date, the next day, after her release. And I think that was just one of the things that somebody told. I think when I watched the stream, somebody told him in chat that it was a bug, and then it just started to spread that that it was a bug, but it's a design intention.
I thought what they were talking about, because I didn't have the game at the time or the character at the time. I thought what they were talking about was like downfall. Like if you do it, the bug was that it just wouldn't come out. Because that's what they were wording it as. They're like, oh yeah, it just won't come out if you hold it. And I'm like, oh, so okay, there's a bug going on for downfall where like if you hold it, you just won't do the crash down. But these niggas were talking about the fucking jet punch. And I'm like, brother, why would that be a bug? Like, but now I see. But to be fair though, has it always read that way? Like in, you know, when we look at her base kit right here and it says you can only do it once, has that always been there? Because if that's the case, why would they think that's a bug?
It's always been there. It was in the beta description of her kit.
It's all okay, yeah. So I don't know why you guys would think that's a bug.
Because niggas don't fully read kits.
Gotcha player 101, don't read.
But if you don't like how that feels, and some of the things that you did bring up next, let's say it's a design oversight. I can't see it in some of those angles. But again, for me to like get a full understanding, I'ma definitely need to talk to you about it. Which I know people keep bringing up him joining the call. You can Nick also, sometimes he just don't want to join. He just want to talk and chat. If he don't want to join the call, it's cool.
You can activate it on command.
But it's like it says like for once, right? Once you get like 120.
Yeah, but I mean, when else are you using jet punch? There's no other reason for you to be jet punching unless like you're just finishing off the attack, right? Like after a dodge counter, you jet punch. That makes sense because you can just swap off. Quick assist in a jet punch, that makes sense because you can swap off. But typically when you're using jet punch, you're going for the downfall. You're not using downfall without meter. And even then, look, it looks like this effect expires when steel charge is less than 120 or after using this method to activate basic attack falling petals. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't take away the meter either. And unless like, if I'm wrong on that, chat, correct me if I'm wrong. But it looks like you just get one free, so you can do it the normal way, or whenever you have 120 meter, you can just like snipe it and then keep the meter anyway, do it the normal way, and then do it into a crash down, which now that I see that, probably explains what this was in the video. Does she have 120 right here?
Also, Nix, I saw what you said. They thought it because every other beta character can do it. Sure.
The jet punches.
Them niggas should have read though.
Okay. I think she's just doing it off the quick assist right there. That's what that looks like. Get 120, buffer into jet punch, parry / enemy phase swaps, etc. Your one-time instant punch is now gone. But then you just come back into the field and do it again. Like,
no, because you used it.
Yeah, but that's how you activate the other 4. So you use your 120, so that's your free one, right? Like to just do it out of anything or just off of nothing. But then if you quick assist in, you just jet punch, you get it for free. If you parry, that's a free jet punch or a follow-up jet punch.
Yeah, but read what he's saying. So like you jet punch, but then like you parry with one of your characters, which most characters outside of Yuzuha, you can't parry then quick assist back in. So the only way you would be able to get C back on field is if you manually switch back to them. But then you wouldn't be able to jet punch at that point. Which I mean, to me that makes sense. That's like you. Well, I that's not like a fair example because she completes the full animation. But that's like you triggering. That's like you triggering Evelyn's chain manual chain, and you parry with the one of your units, and then you switch back into you expect you to have your resource to chain attack again. I get that's not the same exact thing though, because that's more. Evelyn's chain attack is more so downfall than initial jet punch. You can't jet punch without going into full basic attack string, spending EX, ultimate, or dodge countering.
Bro, stop sniping again.
He sniped everyone again.
Everyone said one thing to him.
Look, I respect it. Everyone said he don't give a fuck. I respect it.
Bro, man.
Hey, unban him. Keep talking your shit, Emerald.
Basic attack, dodge counter, quick assist, or assist follow up.
Hey, game.
These are four different ways to get into it. And then I think the easiest one is dodge counter. That's a very important. That's like Sambi shit, right?
Yeah,
I don't think like it's a like Nix. The more that I'm looking at it, because I just never paid attention to the four different things to get into it. The more I'm looking at it, it's really swinging in my favor thought wise. You gotta figure out like and get used to playing her. No, I read what you said about like you parry it, you start the stun, whatever. So like, let's just say you did it and you started the stun, right? Boom. So you go into stun. What are the other ways to go into downfall, for instance, right? Because you don't need jet punch, you need downfall. So EX skill into jet into downfall, that's possible. Ult into downfall, that's possible. Chain attack, can't she do? Yeah, chain attack into downfall, that's possible. So like you can get away with doing all of these different things outside of that. into the downfall and then swap out and do whatever. But it also depends on, for instance, like, I guess the team you're playing, because for me, if I'm playing something like Seed, Nicole, and Sanvi, even though I usually want to start off with like Nicole EX, if I don't do that, I will either start with Jet Punch and I won't parry. But like I mean, you teach that. That's like a playing the character, playing the team thing. Like I'll start my stun and I just won't click parry. I'll start stun with Jet Punch or with Crash Down. I'll Jet Punch into the Crash Down. You know what I mean? And then I'll quick swap off into Nicole and trigger the parry that way, or trigger the stun that way if I wanted to. But I don't know. I wouldn't be afraid of the parry or afraid of the attack, knowing that I'm fully invulnerable for this entire string of what she's doing. You're fully invulnerable. I would never think to parry right there unless, like, I guess I was doing a specific setup. I don't know.
I love Alexandra.
Why? I think I'm laughing at the side bow. Like, I only see that on TikTok. Side bow.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Nah, we getting heated in the chat. Oh my god.
This is good though. Like this for Seed. I didn't know it was like this for Seed, man. Like I thought. See, I guess like, you know, for instance, I guess everything going on, you know. I don't know. This is going into like, I said it, you said it, Xenohorn said it. Like this is quite literally a difference in play styles. Like you just, not you specifically in this, I mean like in general, players just don't want to change the way they approach this character. Like they want her to be a square block that fits in a circle hole, and I just don't think that's the character right now.
Yeah, I think just because she doesn't operate similarly to what to how other characters have been going about previously, I don't necessarily think that's clunky, or necessarily feels bad. Because in my mind, that's like I don't know, it's like a this might not be a great example. It's like a Ryu player complaining that Ed doesn't feel like Ryu. It's a different enough dynamic where it's like it's fine. I think like one of the main sentiments that I had within that within my video is that I think Seed is strong. I think she's good. Will she have issues? For sure. I think her issues more fall in line with that she doesn't completely fit the mode that current attackers are in. But I think that's more so because that's more of a future sight thing than a currently right now. But I think they made her strong enough that she works well. That she works well with most units. But I will say that, and I think I might have mentioned in that video, and I might not have. She isn't the clear cut answer to fixing attack. She is a piece that they can use in order to elevate the class. But there is a overall core adjustment that they need to do for that class as a whole. For the future of it. But I think that she's one step into trying to fix that, and I think that's fine. Yeah, it's gonna be issues along the way. Just what it is.
Attack is doomed. No, but we could segue into that a little bit. I think, unfortunately, and it will take like let's like look at it this way, right? It's gonna take them more. They need more evidence. If you really want to like quote unquote fix attack, you need more evidence. And what I mean by that is you just need a really solid, superior character when it comes to damage output and easy damage output, right? Like even if you fuck up Evelyn's chain attack combos, she's still murking something. So like making more of those, sure, you could do that. But where we are with Seed in particular, Seed is okay. Seed is fine right now. However, I think the difference between like all three of these, when we come to like attack, when we come to even Rupture, which Rupture's not really built yet, so we don't have to talk about that. But attack and anomalies cheat the game. Like their whole thing is to literally cheat the game. That's it. They don't play by the game's rules. We've seen that with every single one of these anomaly characters. Even a character like Bernice that is typically supposed to be off field, does, you know, her little flame damage, whatever, she still crits. Anomalies aren't supposed, like she should not be able to crit, but she does it anyway because she can. Attack agents, the more you look into them, without them being super unique. So in this case, like Hugo or Evelyn, two characters that essentially abuse or find a way to quote unquote cheat system mechanics. The game's mechanics are the ones above 0.5. They sit in that category. They do a stupid amount of damage given the gimmick they have available to them. Everyone else in order to reach that potential, they need vertical investment.
You know what?
Like if you, huh?
I was about to say, you know what the funny thing about everybody says that Anomaly cheats. You saw it in the group chat. I said I'm working on my version of the attacker Anomaly class.
Yeah.
I don't think they cheat. I think they play the game how it's supposed to be played.
And attackers don't.
Yes. I think to me, like, because how I view it, Anomaly is the elemental reaction system, like Genshin. That is the core of the game, and they are designed, and it seems like they are designed to play how the core of the game is structured. While attackers is their way of trying to figure out a way around that. And it hasn't completely panned out yet. I think it was fine. Somebody like mentioned earlier, like they should have fixed attackers in 1.0. There was no way that they was going to get attackers in a better position than what it is right now, because the only way they was going to be able to see where attackers was truly going to sit at in comparison to units that use the anomaly system was going to be till much later into the game's life. They could have been attempted to make a seed version, as you could say, which I think that attempt was Sambi, but it just wasn't a good one. And I think
they were too
Seed
afraid
is
to like let her rock, because remember in the beta, he was incredibly strong. In that first or second beta, she was incredibly strong. And that third beta, they just cut her legs off.
Yeah,
so.
But the thing is, though, is that from my understanding, I could be wrong, and I think Nick, I don't know if you remember or not. If I'm not mistaken, Sambi wasn't strong because of the concept of Aftershock. Sambi was strong because of her values.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the issue with attack. It's that they need a stronger concept and not just value spiking, because then we get into the same issue that Nick's mentioned last time, was that we're just making characters stat sticks. We're just giving them buffs in order to compensate, instead of having an actual foundation that works strong for them. What do you mean values? Like her damage numbers. Like the concept of, if I could be wrong, I could be misremembering Sambi. How her team, how she was designed in beta, it's not too far off, other than like there's some changes to her basic attack animations, and then how her dashes work.
Mm-hmm.
But she wasn't strong because of Aftershock itself. She was strong because of the damage values that she had. But that doesn't fix that doesn't fix the issue with attacks. That just makes a strong attacker. Like Evelyn doesn't completely fix the issues with attacks. She's just a strong attacker. But the issue with attack is a core thing about the class itself, and not just individual characters. That's why for now on, honestly, whenever we get anomaly characters, it's going to be smooth sailing, because they already have the idea laid out for anomalies, that it's always going to be super easy to release a new anomaly character, because they already have the plan down. All you need to do is like give them a little unique gimmick. But other than that, they're going to incorporate and they're going to work well, because they all synergize with one another. But it's not the same case with attackers, because attackers not only have the piece for themselves, they also have to worry about, well, we need strong stunners to incorporate with them to make sure that they complement their kit as well. And then we also have to have supports. While Anomaly, they only have to worry about themselves and a support. Attackers, they have to worry about 3 pieces. Again, Anomaly takes control over every single core mechanic in the game. Attack does not. Yes, Anomaly is designed to play the game. And that's like one of the things I'm gonna bring up in my video. It basically in response to if you guys seen Flossen's video about attack versus Anomaly. Well, I don't think Anomaly cheats. I think they just play the game how it's supposed to be played, and sadly, attackers don't. And then Rupture is trying to come in, and they're trying to find another way of essentially making them cheat the system in order to compete. Yeah. And I think that's the answer for attackers. Truthfully, they have to find a way to cheat the system better.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think they're kind of like, they're getting there, right? We see, again, Seed and Orphe are like the 2 really prime examples of what we got going on. Seed being basically Astra, but does damage. And then Orphe, being a support or supportive attack character that also does a fuck ton of damage. And she works alongside other attack agents. But I think them doing that, and you don't even have to like keep up with this dual DPS thing, but more so making it so that the attack agents that are released from this point forward are unique in some manner, that they benefit not only themselves, the rest of the team. Like they help get to that goal. So if let's say that we were having issues with stunning, and you release an attack character that, I don't know, they were a sword and shield character or a switch axe character or whatever, and they primarily dealt damage, but then they also dealt like extra amounts of days, or whenever they touched an enemy, they applied a debuff. that increase the days that a stunner would do, and specifically a stunner, right? Like if they do things like that, that'll help them swing attack into its own unique type of play style. But it's one of those things where it's very finicky, because if you do it the wrong way, you create something that's like either dog shit or broken. You don't get it in the middle anymore. Like Seed is in the middle, which is good. Orphe is either in the middle or, like, because of what type of character she is, probably gonna come out at like 0.5, but you need something else. And yeah, Yomi, you could think of it like a defense character, but defense characters are something that I've said this before. Like, defense characters are basically what Rupture should have been. Like Ishwin coming out and completely ignoring defense, but then it's just the not even the ignoring defense part, how they describe Rupture agents, right? They describe Rupture agents as the perfect balance of offense and survivability. Yeah. So I'm like, that's a fucking defense agent. Caesar has a sword and a shield. Like, what are we doing? If they don't change, just change Caesar to fucking Rupture at that point, or change all of defense class to Rupture at that point, or something. I don't know, but they don't even need the 100% defense ignore. They just need the ability to deal a good amount of offense and defense. And this creates different scenarios for everybody to be able to enjoy and play the game. And then it keeps the team variety or the character variety, because that's what it feels like they're working towards right now. It's making a bunch of different characters that all obviously go to the same end goal, but they're doing it in a completely different manner. So I don't know. It'd be crazy if we just like, I guess like we started asking for too much out of the game, as far as like, make this character this way, make this character that way. This should be this way. Yeah, they might just have a vision in the future. I don't know.
I honestly think, and I'm pretty sure we had a discussion when they first announced that what Rupture was and how it went about. I still pretty much agree now that Rupture was just a very unnecessary class that they could have just fixed. They didn't have an answer for defense. You could have just used that as your defense answer. So it's like, it was no reason for this class to exist, and now we have to now it feels like that either they're going to try to fix attack as much as they can to either keep them good enough, or find an answer that allows all three classes to compete, or they're going to get left in the dust and they're just going to make Anomaly and Rupture the focus as time comes. But honestly, that's going to take time. And if I'm going to be honest, depending on what we see for 2.4, I think I have a good hunch that they're going to repeat what they did in season 1. And we're about to just get hella Rupture units back to back like they did Anomaly for the rest of the season in order to catch them up.
Yeah, I can see that. Especially with them giving us Seed right now and then Orphe. I do believe that at this point, for attack to not stay relevant, but like stay in that 0.5 or 0 like territory, you have to vertically invest. I think attack agents are the only ones in the game that like you have to vertically invest in order to make them stand out as far as like damage goes. Not even because of the damage numbers, but because if you look at a lot of these attack agents mindscapes, especially the newer ones, they all have some form of like defense ignore or res shred or boosting my crit so that I don't have to like look at more stats or whatever. Like they all have something like that, but everyone else doesn't.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
No, I was reading one.
Oh yeah, go for it.
To fix attack, they just need to buff the stun damage, like the damage that stunners do, or like the stun damage multiplier. No, make their kits more powerful in stun. For example, yeah, I want to see what you mean by this. I am in agreement though. I think stunners, in order for them to fix the issue with attack, it requires them to touch 2 classes. It requires them to make stronger attacker kits, but also requires them to improve the dynamic between attackers and stunners.
I think going into what you said too, adding into it, they need to do that full around, all around. Which that's Steed and Orphe do that, or they help do that. Make the team play like a team. One of the big reasons Anomaly is so strong is because the entire team functions together. Like they're not one unit. Even with Miyabi, as cracked out of her mind as she is, in order for you to take full advantage of Miyabi, you have to take full advantage of whatever like teammate you give her. Whether that be Bernice, Yanagi, Vivian, Yanagi, exactly. Like you have to be able to take advantage of all the characters on the team in order to maximize the entire damage output. Whereas with attack has primarily been hyper carry, which that's a big reason why I don't like it, especially in this game. But outside of that, attack has always been buff the fuck out of one unit, and the one unit does all the damage. And now we're getting to a point where that one unit, kind of like how I explained with Acheron and Starro earlier. Like for instance, Evelyn is still doing 1,000,000 something damage during her stun window. She's doing all the damage she did months ago. The difference is The game is catching up. Now the enemies are catching up with her damage output. Now the enemies are getting more resistant, stronger, and they can fight back, right? They're getting more active. Well, in order to make up for that, you can't just make Evelynn stronger. You can't make a stronger DPS than Evelynn, because now we've entered like direct power creep, which everyone cries about when it happens, but people constantly ask for it to happen in the game. What you should be doing is making it, yeah, right? What you should be doing is making the team function better. Make the attack type teams function like teams.
Yeah, I agree. And I also like some of the ideas that Nyx is. So essentially, he's if I'm reading this correctly, you're like saying allow the stunners to provide some either form of buffs or dynamics within stun window that further improves attackers within that moment, or at least allows them to assist within stun. Because when you initially said that statement, I thought you meant like to have like stunners do like DPS or stun windows, but I was like, there's already only but so much time within stun windows for attackers to do their full rotation. So how would you squeeze that in? But if I'm understanding you right, it's they should be able to improve ways for characters, attackers normally to take further advantage of some windows directly. But
Embers, that's how it should work. Embers, you mentioned playstyles, and like players should be able to find what playstyle they like and then invest into that vertically and like have a good time, right? That's the way it should be. But the age-old question that will always be asked, let's say, and I explained this before, right, or earlier, let's say that you really like Sambi, so you invest vertically in a Sambi, but then Yidhari comes out, and then Yidhari does more damage than your M2 Sambi. I don't know. Now you're asking yourself, why would I vertically invest into this character beyond what I've already done when I could just pick up M0 new character, and then that character essentially power creeps whatever it is? This question is what's always asked in the gacha space, so they constantly keep going for the new.
Anti using burst mode without consuming energy and stun window.
At that point, why would he even? You just build the energy up one time and you never run out. It's infinite.
Yeah, that would be good though. I do like the dynamics that you're stating, Nyx, and I agree. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think for them to have designed stunners and attackers to be direct partners with one another, stunners, and we've talked about this conversation from months ago that stunners technically just don't do enough within that dynamic to fully warrant it. Because I kind of mentioned in like the script I'm writing now, we have to realize that stunners, when we're comparing them to how Anomaly works, stunners are replacing another DPS, and a DPS for Anomaly that is able to deal basically max damage in and without a stun. So because of that, stunners need to be able to make up for that loss in DPS overall throughout a fight, and currently they don't.
That's why I'm a fan of DPS Trigger. Buffer, give her back her damage.
Yeah, that would have been nice for Trigger to have actually done a decent amount of considerable damage.
If she did, I would put her in tier 0.5 without her engine.
So stunners need more damage. I mean, that's an easy answer.
They need to contribute more to the team.
Yeah, but so that doesn't always directly have to be the exact answer. Cause like when I think of stunners need to do more damage, I imagine that they would do that for like an Aftershock unit or something. So that while the units are on field, the Aftershock units are contributing to DPS overall. But I think that's a lot more interesting things, like things that Nyx was listing that stunners can do that can offer more. Like, why don't we have a stunner that breaks the system and add a dynamic that's similar to like what Astra's doing? I don't know exactly what that stunner would do, but they could do things that allow attackers to benefit. It was just that would require me to think a lot more than on the spot on stream though. We need more stunners like Lighter. I agree. I think we should have had another stunner that specialized in buffing two specific elements already. I'm surprised we've gotten to this point and we haven't, and we keep getting these generalists.
I think they're afraid. I think they saw what they did with Lighter. They saw how impactful that was, and in order for them to do that, they would also have to look at like which DPSs they have right now that could apply to. Which, to be fair, the easiest ones would be electric and ether. You make a stunner that buffs electric and ether damage, and fuck it, make them off field. Why not?
Don't do that. Why, Nyx? Why not do that?
I don't know, bro. I'm in favor of doing that, you know, because then everyone always complains about Lighter and like how they feel like they're forced to use fire and ice, and it's the strongest thing in the meta. Fuck it, give the other element the same shit. What's the worst that could happen? Oh, what the hell are you talking about?
Oh, you don't care what we said. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think. Hold on, we need a lighter that's generic like Vivian. I think having a generic lighter, it goes into the issue of what we're kind of talking about now, which is, well, how strong is that generic lighter? And if so, if he's stronger than lighter, is he just going to end up being a lighter replacement? Because at that point, then that's kind of, yeah, that's, I don't know. I think it's in a kind of respond to what I'm saying. That opens up a can of worms of like, he kind of just replace a unit like that. Just kind of replaces too many characters. I'm always in the thought that there should be a lot more niches in the game, especially at a point now where in my opinion, we've gotten too many generalists at this moment to begin more general use. I think if that's the case, we need more characters that are more niche and direct in what they're doing. Isn't generic lighter just trigger? No, I mean, I guess not really though. Trigger's more like just like off-field Chingy, more or less. The Jufufu is, I guess you could say, is a bit closer though, because the buffs that Jufufu provides is pretty good. Which also, that's another weird thing, is that the concept of double stun also isn't really great. And I'm kind of upset that they did it with Hugo, but it seems like that we're already going to move on from that idea, which I feel like
it was just Hugo. Like, because Totalize is something that if they made another Totalize, and I don't know how to say it, but we already know Totalize can fall off at any moment because of what it is. So if you made another one, not only would you be like keeping Hugo relevant, which is a great thing, but I think you also just be copying pasting Hugo. It's like, what else can you do for Totalize? Like, oh yeah, you Totalize with the basic attack, like, or a whole
that's like, what my I think making and I can't fully remember what my thought was when Hugo first came out. But I hate that they always make things separate from one another, if that makes sense. Like, they always give a character that's something unique, and the only way that you can buff that certain thing is tied to whatever that character specifically does. I think the best example is like Pan. Like Pan. Pan is a character, like, I guess for right now, Pan is like a character that's specifically designed to buff sheer force or whatever the freak it is.
Yeah.
And so like in this very moment, having a character like that doesn't help anybody. It helps Yi Zhuan, but it doesn't really do much for now. And then based off the little bit that we've seen with Kamine, it doesn't seem like he's gonna play much of a role there either.
I feel like we should just go with Zena's idea. I'm not gonna lie to you.
What does Zena say? Totalize scales to enemies
Totalize
max HP. Hey, look, I'm already forward.
Nah, no jokes. Stand on that, bro.
Nah, do that.
Yeah, I like that idea.
100% do that. But yeah, I think giving. I understand like giving characters like they always give like these unique naming and conventions and stuff for characters that works the same for them. But it's like, it ends up in some instances, it like ends up hurting them down the road because they make it such a unique description, and that because it's not considered under like a wheelhouse of something. If other characters don't directly buff, for example, Totalize in the future, then Hugo would just constantly shift downwards upon everything releasing within the game, because there's nothing else that's allowing him to stay in the line of competing. They would just have to, I guess, provide a stunner that buffs Totalize or something. I don't know. Things need to be niche, but not that niche. Like niche, or like a good niche is like where lighter is that it's fire and ice, or there's plenty of fire and ice characters that they can make, go on and so forth. But Totalize won't. I don't know if they'll ever make another unit that does Totalize or supports Totalize in the future. Just give Hugo Aftershocks. Don't you remember when he had one and they took it away? I remember.
Pepper Ridge Farm remembers.
He had one. They took it away. And then I think that at one point, they considered Vivian's of Bloom's Aftershocks at one point. I think in the very beginning.
I think the very first beta, yeah.
Yeah. He had what? Yeah. When you do, what is it? Is it? I think it's the hold basic when he props up the scythe and he does like the gunshot out the scythe. That was his Aftershock. But then they just let it go. I don't know. I put money on the Totalized amplifier. That's a stretch, because you know why? Because Hugo didn't sell well. So why would they invest into making a unit that amplifies him unless they come out with another unit that uses Totalize? They would have to be in a 2-in-1. They would have to be a package.
They just have to make a girl. They made the girl amp, the Totalize amper. She's a girl. She's hot.
But why would you get her if you didn't pull Hugo?
She's hot. She's hot. You give her a banger story, right? Just like do the seed treatment. You give her a real fucked up banger story, and like everyone wants to support her, and then she only works with Hugo, and you put Hugo on the same patch, that same banner, you put Hugo right next to her, guaranteed money. Guaranteed
I don't think
money.
That's how that works.
I'm telling you, bro.
I don't think that's how that works.
All right, if they ever did it, money.
He's spitting for real. I don't know, bro. I don't know. I don't imagine, no matter how fire the shorty is, I don't imagine you convincing people to pull Hugo still.
We not talking about the free to play. We talking about niggas with money. They gonna spend.
I guess sure.
Cause you get a husbando and a waifu combo.
But that just, I don't know. That just eventually becomes like a useless comp over the course of time.
Yeah, but you get to have fun right now.
So that doesn't fix the issue.
You get to have fun right now.
You indirectly, what did you say earlier, Nick? Did you say something else? That was the first thing you said. You indirectly buff Hugo by giving him a stunner who increases damage for each stun activated over time. Now that's fire. And that was something I was trying to kind of think or go towards, where like talking about double stun, because I'm like, for how the concept of double stun would work in your head, you would think that, oh yeah, I'm getting more stun windows. That means I should be able to trigger more damage. But because how current energy restrictions and stuff are built with characters and how it works, a lot of times you don't have the resources to keep up with how many stun windows that you create for your DPS unit. But, and this is me thinking, the whole dynamic, that Seed gives energy to the other attacker while they're off field. We could have a stunner that does the same thing, so that while they're on field and while the attacker is waiting to go back into the stun window, they can they can provide them, that little bit of the energy that they need again, so they know double stun could be worth it. Just an example. That was a completely fixed issue, but one thing that they could do. You can run everything but double shields. If you run double defense, blessings to you, because that's fucking useless. Mob farm, max the multi-stun damage bonus, buff Hugo to allows enough to one-shot bosses, easily indirect bump, true. Make Ben great again. I wish they would do something for defense, but if I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a defense unit this whole season outside of Pan. I wouldn't be surprised.
Bro,
but to be honest, I don't see stunners going anywhere after like, oh yeah, hold on, what do you mean going anywhere? Like leaving, or do you mean like improving? If we turn in freaking Nekomata into a battery, should make the other attacker a stunner.
You have a Seed in Soldier 11, but not a Trigger Asher. Who could you pair him with? Depends on who you have in your account, but I guess Nicole would work, but you really want a Trigger.
Improving wise, I disagree. I think they understand that Anomaly, even though it sells well, we can't just constantly always drop Anomaly characters. That'll just kind of dry the game out. And we've already invested. Players have already invested into specific classes so much that they're going to have to commit to evolving one or two of them at some point.
I think an easy way to help fix or alleviate what's going on, you make because the other games have done it. Genshin just announced it with their like 4 free constellations a year thing. You take something like that, or like what Starro does with the excess points. But I think if they made it so that you can choose who you can spend that constellation token on, then you could pop it over. Players would have more comfortability on their attacks. I don't know. Yeah. It's definitely one of those things where it's like it's up in the air on like what the developers can do. Because it's harder to just, we can always throw out like ideas, right? But it's harder to see the direction of it because we only have literally until Orphe. Like whatever we get when Orphe is here is what we got for a while. And that's why I'm like harping on even myself. I'm like, I really want M1 Trigger right now, and I want M3 Orphe, because I know after that, like, you ain't getting shit. You guys, we're gonna get Rupture, we're gonna get another Anomaly agent, we're gonna get a Stunner, we're gonna get a defensive agent, more Rupture, and then you might get one attack agent. And you lucky if it work with Seed or Orphe, because knowing them, they're gonna make a brand new attack type.
Like I said, but people will use the once per year on the attack unit instead of the Anomaly or Rupture.
Oh, Dab, it's up to them. It's literally like you choose whatever you want. It wasn't so much like an advice thing. It's more like giving players the opportunity to do whatever they want with their token. Like at that point, that's on you, right? Like if you knew that vertical investment was required for attack to get better, and then you decided, I'm gonna get an M5 Miyabi, you better keep playing that Miyabi, bro. You know,
enjoy it. Like I know for me, I don't care about Anomaly. I think Anomaly's good, but I think some characters are fun. Like I like Yanagi. I think Optimized Miyabi is like a really cool character. But outside of that, there's not too many other Anomaly characters that really interest me. Only other one, which I know she's Mono Shock interests me with Grace. Grace herself doesn't interest me, but Mono Shock is interesting.
What is it, 48% attack increase or something, or 28%?
Something like that. So like, I know I'm the type of person that they give that to us. Most of my investments are probably going to go into attack, unless Rupture pulls me in.
I think Yahari's going to pull me in. Her or Minato, one of those two. I think they're going to get me to full sin.
I can see. I already know Minato's gonna pull me in. That's so bad, guy. Of course I'm gonna play that.
That's what I'm. But they both play without going into like the league territory. I'm a Hu Tao main and from Genshin, and both of them have Hu Tao's mechanic, and I'm like, shit. you. I don't even like Tillian. I'm not a hammer main. We're talking about Monster Hunter. I'm a charge blade main. That's why I like Seth so much. Or a longsword. The moment they give us a longsword user in Zenless, you're not gonna hear me shut up. You're not. But I don't like hammer. So, but they're both Hu Tao's, and I like that.
Mono Shock being Yanagi Safrina. Do not let R2 hear you say that. Mono Shock is M2 Grace, M0 Haru, and at least M1 Rina, if I'm not mistaken. It's hard to say with standard characters. It's not really. I guess it's an expensive team. But at the same time, it's a team that you'll more than likely get over time. You'll end up getting a copy of M1 Rina at some point. And then we lose to Grace 50-50s like her and Koleda all the time. So it'll end up happening. M1 Haru? Well, not necessarily. I don't know. M1 Haru is probably better, but I know R2 posters like M0 Haru runs all the time.
Y'all not even getting that character, bro. He's not coming back. You know what's funny? We still haven't had a Dr. Ratio rerun. I just thought about that. And that's been like a 2-year thing. So I really don't. Nick's might be right. Y'all not getting Haramasa.
Yeah, no way they don't. Yes, y'all did. Oh, they did?
When?
We did? When did they do it?
When did y'all get that? Was that like yesterday or something like that? Like what happened? Anaxa? Oh yeah, they fucked y'all. Y'all got fucked.
That's to do with the pistol?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
better ratio in every way.
So I guess we're not going to get Haru until we get a better Haru.
You're going to get a better Haramasa in every way. They're going to give you a Haramasa grandkid or something like that.
We're going to get his master before he got corrupted. And that's not happening. Yeah, you're probably right. A better Haru is probably not. We're going to get I know this was the meme. This was the statement with Sambi. We're probably going to get an easier Haru maybe. That's going to be better. Which sucks though. That still pisses me off.
You know what I'm waiting on?
We're probably not going to ever get a character like that again.
I'm waiting on either the Street Fighter collab, or I'm waiting on the characters that are clearly Chun-Li and Ryu and Akuma and Cammy, like disguised as Zenless characters. Because they have the animations for it. We see it with Monster Hunter, and we see it with other Capcom games. And shit, even not Capcom, they fucking Guilty Gear. I know they have spinning bird kick. And what's her up kick? Yaka shows or whatever the fuck she says. They have the animations for it. I know they have it. Kimberly Banner is happening. Zenless is pretty diverse. I wouldn't be surprised if we got like New Age. Yeah, if they just did a Street Fighter 6 collab.
I mean, it would make sense.
We got Chun-Li, we got Kimberly.
If I'm going to be honest, this is the perfect time now, since we're in with the Young Koi Summit.
Yeah,
this is the perfect time to introduce martial arts characters.
I'm trying to think of like who else they would give us, because like the easy answer is to say Ryu, but I don't think we would get Ryu. I don't think we get Ryu. He's too basic.
This is I don't think he works in this game. We're getting waifus.
We're getting a male. He probably gonna be the free one.
Yeah, they give me a free meal that works like, I don't know, Akuma. I'll be cool.
Yeah, Akuma's the game traveler. You're not getting Akuma free. You're paying for Akuma. They're not giving you him for free.
Terry Bogard. Terry would be sick. Like a Terry Bogard character.
Street Fighter character, man.
Give us he close enough. He in the family.
Oh my gosh.
Give us a Raputin. An Eva Ryu. What you want? One frame links?
Yo, that shit would be lit.
Bro, you know a perfect kid. They did it in the story. And I think it'll be great so they had a character. I don't know. I haven't played it yet, but I've seen clips that they added quick time events like from Storm in the freaking new story. I would love a character. They don't have to be exactly the quick time gimmick, but it's just essentially Soldier 11, like a newer version of like another perfect timing gimmick. I want another one, bro. I need another one.
I want them to go back and Izzy, don't talk about Laura, bro. If they put Laura in the game, you never hear that. You won't hear me shut up. But I really want them to go back and look at what they did with the original cast for Zenless, like the characters, and just work on that, like evolve on that. Soldier has the input timing. Nekomata has the behind the attack stuff going on. Poleta has the dodge counters and a stun, which is like, I think we have a little bit of that now with more characters doing dodge counters. Billy also has the dodge counters, but Billy also has the distance thing. That's something that I had to learn from the Billy mains, where it's like, he doesn't want to be in your face directly. He wants a specific distance so he can maximize the damage that he has going for him. Nicole has the 360 input. Also, I'm gonna turn it on and test it, but apparently, you know the 360 quick release where she falls on her butt? Apparently, it's not
you about that.
It's a 180.
Oh, you only have to do it 180.
You do a 180 and you let it go, and she falls on her butt because like it's incomplete, so you didn't complete it. And I was like, oh shit, like that's news to me. I've always done the 360, so it is what it is. Yo, can we get a ban on Zena Horn real quick?
Sorry, you was easy as a fighting. Also, Nix, I'm tired of you. I'm not cheating. Also, I was the only nigga that brought up Soldier 11 in my seed guide for a team comp. Everybody did not mention her. I was the first one to try her on stream with seed. Every time any form of fire character gets added, who's the one that makes the Soldier 11 video? Me. Not flossing. Me. More team attacks like Ben and Colada. Yeah.
Why have we not gotten more of those, man? That's crazy.
They said they're coming. My guess, my guess can only be they're waiting for the idols.
That would be fair.
Should they wait? I don't think. I think they should. If I'm going to be honest, Oball Squad was the perfect opportunity to introduce a team attack. But from how they're talking, from what it's seeming, they're waiting for. They got to be waiting for the idols. It just makes the most sense. Are we done with the? We done with the general conversation, right?
Yeah, I feel like we are. You know, we hit the stop record button.